Hey, this is Notser, and once again we have a World of Warship video. This time we are covering the Minegumo. This is a premium tier 9 Japanese destroyer that will be introduced into the game as you're watching this, because it's to coincide with the Battle of Java Sea event. Jupiter 42 will also be introduced. Jupiter 42 will cost 90 Java tokens. Minegumo will cost 190, both of which can be bought with cash or doubloons in bundles, but you probably already inferred that. Now, Minegumo, this is the higher of the two that's available, and I want to talk about what's potentially offered by this ship. Now, for armor, it's 19 all the way around. Obviously, it's a destroyer, so it doesn't have a citadel. It's got 15,000 hit points. It has 6 127mm guns, 4 in the rear, 2 up front. Its torpedo system is interesting because there are 2 types of torpedoes that you can load on this ship, and honestly, I think it's probably the biggest factor for why you would be interested in Minegumo. The first one is 15 kilometers. Goes pretty slow-ish, 63 knots. The second one is a 6.5 that goes 85 knots. So there's a lot of variance on how these torpedoes perform. So ideally, you would select the most optimal torpedo given the circumstance. It has depth charges, but let's be real, DDs don't really get that close to them anymore. Its AA gun range is 2.5, so you never have to disable it to remain undetected. It's pretty much just turn on and watch as it does 0 damage. Maneuverability, it's okay. It's not the best, it's not the worst. And then for concealment, I can get it down to 5.4 with my build, which is nice. It's about 1.1 kilometers of dead zone between you being ship spotted, body spotted, and your torpedoes landing on a target undetected. Obviously, if an enemy ship is sailing towards you and you're sailing away, you effectively have greater distance that you can send the short-range faster torpedoes. But ideally, you would have the torpedo that works best in the situation. And let's take a look at that. So for the equipment, you've got HE, okay? Typical Japanese high fire chance HE. The AP is just barely better, like literally just barely. So most of the time you're going to fire HE. I would say 99% of the time. First torpedo is the long range. And with my build, I can get the reload down to 76 seconds, which is not bad at all. And then the short range, 6.5, much faster. So also it shares the same reload time. So as you watch the gameplay, note how easy it is to interchange between the first torpedo and the second torpedo type. It makes the gameplay enjoyable, actually, and one that you consider more consideration than maybe your typical Japanese destroyer with only one option. So it's really nice. I like the flavor of this. Honestly, I kind of wish that there was a Japanese destroyer line that specialized in selecting alternative torpedoes, because Minegumo, it was really fun. It was the first game that I ended up playing in it, and it was a real treat, so I can't wait to share that with you. The other equipment that you're probably so familiar with, damage control, smoke generator, and then engine boost. They all work as advertised, nothing different there. And of course, ship launched depth charges, so effectively you never get to use them. But I think the Minegumo could be a very successful premium, and I think people might be interested in it for the torpedo swapping mechanic. The camouflage is pretty normal looking. It looks like a smoky gray or something like that. If you are also considered Jupiter, this is what Jupiter looks like. I will have a video dedicated to Jupiter on another day. but today is the Minegumo. So, thanks so much, and hopefully you'll enjoy. All right, Minegumo. So we're at Tier 9. It's a pretty Tier 10 heavy match, but there's no aircraft carrier or submarine, so it's probably the most ideal it could be. Plus, the cruiser is, there's only 3 cruisers, and one of them is a radar cruiser, so it's as ideal as I think it could be at this point, but 5 enemy battleships, 3 cruisers, and 4 destroyers in this match. So obviously you can see the 2 torpedo options. First one is the long-range, slower torpedo. The second one is a shorter range, faster torpedo. And hopefully I can show off both, but at the very least, you're going to see how mechanically it is to control. And I think that's probably the most important aspect of watching this game, because you don't really know how inherently strong or weak these things are. Now, a couple things of note. When you switch between the torpedo types, unless they are fully reloaded, it instantly swaps the cooldown cycle. So as long as you're reloading, you can switch back and forth and it doesn't affect it. It doesn't interrupt it. Feels really nice from that standpoint. If you are fully reloaded, it takes 5 seconds to swap the torpedo. Also, you might have noticed that the long, slow torpedoes actually activate closer to Minegumo than the short-range, faster torpedoes. So, really edge case, but there might be a situation where you need your torpedoes to activate before they slam into the hull of an enemy ship. You might have to select the slow ones, but that is basically increasingly impossible at this point because, let's face it, no one's going to be that close to you. An enemy submarine, if you were that close, there would be a lot more issues and your depth charges would probably kill him faster, let's be real. So, 2 of the guns in the front, 4 in the rear, as we said. That's a typical Japanese destroyer layout, which means it kind of encourages you to disengage and fire most of your guns if you choose to do that. Now, I approached D point, and we have about 1 kilometer of dead zone between our ship detection and the range of our torpedoes. So I could effectively send torpedoes and still not be detected as I am trying to capture D point. Now, the first set that I sent towards the biggest gap and at the longest range. And I'm hoping that I can catch out an enemy battleship or heavy cruiser or, big, slow, ugly, lumbering ships. Oh, Louisiana. Speak of the devil. Hopefully we can land one on them, but if we don't, it's whatever. And you can see that the torpedoes actually reload faster than the long range will ever arrive to their target. So, because of that, I send a couple more at this Sun battleship. Hindy's over there. I don't really care about the Hindenburg right now. All I care about is capturing this objective. On the other side of the map, the enemy team is trying to contest A point. Friendly Yueyang is capturing it for us, however. So we take D point, and that's awesome. There was a spotted enemy destroyer, but he wasn't in cap. Well, someone's in cap now, but he wasn't in cap before, and the lone hybrid carrier dive bomb is on approach. Yay. Obviously, my AA will not activate unless I am detected. That's one of the nice perks of Minegumo. You don't have to worry about turning it on or off. What isn't nice about Minegumo is you don't have to turn it on or off. It's pretty much below average from the get-go, so it's just a helpless feeling as they attack you. But honestly, not bad. We only took 3,000 points of damage, and it forced the enemy hybrid carrier squadron out of the match for the cooldown cycle, so our team should be able to disengage and, set up a good ambush potentially on whoever's capturing D point. I will, of course, try and assist, but we're really trying to figure out you know, if I should go back into D, oh, there's an Elbing over there. So we've seen 3 of the 4 enemy destroyers. So I wonder where the 4th one could be. And note, our torpedoes never hit anything, unfortunately. But, you know, that's okay. They come off a cooldown so quickly that it's so easy to have it ready to go for the next cycle. So we've got a friendly Holland who is pushing towards D point. A point is being contested by an enemy. And there is a little bit of a smokage around D point. I don't have the range. I would basically have to sail up and point blank torpedo with the short range. So I switched to the long range, and you saw the switch. It wasn't anything. It's a token switch amount, honestly, for 5 seconds. Could you imagine in real life if they could load and unload torpedoes in 5 seconds? That would be a skill in itself. But, you know, friendly Holland, he's attempting to capture D point. He also sends torpedoes, and oh, what have we here? Enemy Holland is on the flank as well. So that is 3 destroyers, for those of you who are counting. We are outnumbered. And I'm trying to push this guy back as best as I can. I don't want my friendly Holland to feel continuously outnumbered. But, you know, as we are moving up, we're doing chip damage. Friendly Holland gets attacked. I don't know why he didn't turn his AA on. He's literally spotted by the enemy Holland, but his AA doesn't activate long enough to wipe out an entire hybrid carrier squadron. I don't believe that. But he's still alive. Enemy Louisiana thinks he can shoot us. You know, the funny thing is, if the Louisiana didn't fire, I may or may not have taken that torpedo, but it didn't have the range, so we're safe there. But we're capturing D point. Enemy captured A point. I really like going in and out. Elbing's pretty low, actually, so he might have to pull back, which is great for us. He lost a lot of hit points. To me, the Elbing should not play in smoke. Smoke firing with the Elbing is a suboptimal play. What works better is sort of open water gunboating, because you have such great gun velocity and your AP does so much damage at range. It's kind of a win-win. You punish really hard and you burst out. Now, that Elbing decided to try and stay in a smoke, which not the best strat, but it's the strat he chose. Our torpedoes are hopefully screening the Louisiana away. And I'm contemplating whether I want to do slow or fast, because I just feel the enemy Holland, he is doing similar tactics to me. He's waiting until the average amount of time that a DD might leave a base capture, and then he's coming in to try and recapture. We, of course, have to deal with the aircraft carrier. And look at that, little bits of damage. Single digits. We land a torpedo on something, actually, which is fantastic. I think it was Louisiana. Enemy Louisiana returns the favor with a perfect dive bomb accuracy-wise, and we take like 7,000 or 8,000 damage. Now, I probably should have popped smoke and hid, forcing the hybrid carrier to choose a different target. I did not do that, so I was rewarded for that by losing most of my hit points. You know, the plan was obviously activate a drill and rush. I did not want to activate a drill and rush this early. It's actually not early. We're 9 minutes into this game. I think I'm flooding the Louisiana out a little bit. Funny enough. But we're 9 minutes into this game, and only 3 ships have died. Very passive gameplay. Now, my teammates, the 3 destroyers, other than myself, they met up at the middle of the map, and it looks like they're going to try and do some flanking torpedo against the enemies that pushed up at A point. Because of this, I know that I'm outnumbered. There are 3 enemy DDs to my 1, and I'm low hit points. So I cannot aggressively... Ooh, one of the low health. He must have actually taken my torpedo. I wonder why he didn't try and protect himself. Huh, what an odd play there by that DD. He got taken out. And our friends are back. Don't know who exactly, so I'm just going to cautiously move up. You could very easily be overrun, and that's not something that I want. Not at all. So I'm just cautiously moving up. I sent my torpedoes to try and discourage anyone from attempting to corner island move up. So hopefully we can catch Sun out as he is pushing up, but it doesn't look like the torpedoes are going to land on his corner of the island, unfortunately. Fortunately, though, the Elbing decides to show his hand by firing inside of smoke, so we just send directly at his ship. And funny enough, the Holland reveals his location as well. Ain't no way that's an Elbing firing, and plus I was in a different location. And that 10% fire chance, we set 2 fires on the Elbing, and that must force a damage control party. So the Elbing is actually pretty vulnerable. I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. We activate our smoke to hide from the Louisiana, something that I should have done previously. And we actually land our torpedo not on the Elbing that we sent our torpedo towards, but the Holland. So the Holland somehow baited himself into the area of smoke that I had already set up. And friendly. Someone got a spot on that Elbing, so I just open up on him. I'm hoping for a fire. That would be great. Because we know that he recently used damage control. So it might stick. Doesn't look like it does, so we know that he just used damage control. Now, because he used damage control, I just felt like he was aggressive. He aggressively maybe wanted to push into my smoke. I didn't want to take the chance, so I'm going to give ground while we work on Sun, hoping that someone will catch sight of the Elbing so we can finish him off. Once the Elbings finish off, I can move up and capture D point. Friendly Conqueror, HE, bursts the Sun Yatsen out of the match, and he's dead before my torpedoes can land. But mark my words, those torpedoes, they would have landed. So I'm just feeling pretty good, actually. We've quickly worn out the enemy. What is it, 3 minutes after the 11-minute mark that I was referencing, and there are 5 more enemy ships that have perished in those 5 minutes. Enemy Elbing, and he's at a bad point. This is the other thing. If you open fire with full health, then you can rely on your smoke late game to extend the health that you will have very little of, or may not have less health. So it's really less than optimal to play the Elbing any other way than open fire gunboat at this point. Works for me, though, because now I know that I can recapture this point, and this will be the 3rd capture. And honestly, it felt pretty good. 5.4 detection is pretty outstanding. It's right at what you would expect for a tier 9. I don't have smoke, unfortunately, from Louisiana, so my next best option is to sail towards the closest friendly, which is the Petro, hoping that the Petro will destroy this guy before he can bomb me into oblivion. And we're just hopeful, because our AA guns do no damage, single digits. And fortunately, his hybrid carrier squadron gets knocked out. Poor Vegeta. Enemy Hindenburg fires HE at my last known position, but it doesn't land on us. We should easily be able to capture this. Now, the next thing that I was contemplating is I want to make a run at the Louisiana. Friendly Holland is coming from an odd angle, and he's sort of forcing the Louisiana into a kill box. And once the capture is done, I can safely exit this ring and look to send torpedoes towards Majin Vegeta. Majin Vegeta. Don't you know the strongest Vegeta is Super Saiyan Vegeta before Majin? Anyway, Louisiana, he took some torps, but he's healing back up a little bit. It's good for me because it's more hit points that we can farm. I wanted to potentially set up a short-range torpedo. But with super, super, super short range torpedoes, they really don't work unless the enemy is neutral or coming towards you. If he's sailing away from you, he's going to get outside of your range, and that's exactly what the Louisiana is doing. So instead, I switch to my long range, and I just predict the location that he will have to go if he wants to retreat. I sent a narrow set and then a widespread just to cover all bases. I was also attempting to try and spot the Hindenburg in that little gap. And, you know, we're happy. Enemy Louisiana, of course, he scrambles another dive bomb squadron that we can use our smoke to defend ourselves for. But I don't want to have to do that, and I hope that he flies away from my location. And I feel pretty sneaky at this point. We don't have any AA range, so we don't have to turn it off. He looks like he might be coming towards us, and we knock him out. Sweet, sweet victory. All that's left over here is the enemy Hindenburg. Of all the ships to survive, 2 of the 3 cruisers. Just let that sit in for a sec. I don't think that my torpedoes are going to land on him before the game ends, but we'll give it a college try. And yeah, Minegumo. Pleasantly surprised by how fun this was. I activate my smoke to prevent any further spotting. And yeah, the game's pretty much over at this point. But yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised by this. 3 base captures, 2 kills. Torpedoes that were, you know, the long range, seemingly the worst versions, were actually not the worst. The short range were also pretty min-max as well. So in those situations, I think they would have been ideal as well. 69,000 damage. Nice. For the team action, we were actually number 1 on our team. The Yu Yang was second, and then the Holland was 4th. So 3 destroyers, which is pretty outstanding. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by Minegumo's performance. Obviously, most of our damage is in torpedoes, but the dot damage doesn't lie. Our dot damage is right up there with our main battery, and we had pretty decent amount of main battery chances there too. So, you know, it was about as good of a balanced match as I could show off for all of you. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Leave in the comments what you think of Minegumo, and also please like the video if you enjoyed it. I really appreciate all the support. Now, this video will launch a little bit later than my normal time, and that's due to the NDA lifting. The Battle of Java Sea event should be live as I'm speaking, but I'm not sure. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everything works out and you guys can see this ship and potentially work towards unlocking it if you like what you see. Thanks again, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.